Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Good attendance again, thank you. Few housekeeping items first. If you have any questions, just drop them in the chat window and we'll try and get them to them at the end. The session is being recorded, so you will get a follow-up email with links to the recording. So if there's anything you want to get back to, you can go back to that, or even if you want to share it with somebody in your organization, feel free. Okay, so today I'm going to be looking at Copilot again, but I'm guessing one of the reasons so many of you are here, Copilot is being introduced for students from 13 upwards. So I'm going to be covering that as well as a few other things around Copilot that might be of interest to you. Okay, first of all, Microsoft 365 Copilot. This is the free version. This is the version I use every day, and I think it's fantastic. But it has two benefits over the free one. The first one, as you can see from the graphics, it's built into your Office 365 apps. So it's built into Word, it's built into Excel, Teams, Outlook, and many more. So it's built into the apps, so you can do your work directly in the apps. The second big feature that differentiates it is that it grounds itself or gets its information from your customer, not your customer data, your data. So your Exchange mailbox, your Teams meetings, your OneDrive files, your SharePoint files, it grounds itself and it bases its answers based on information you have already in your tenancy. The other thing is it's built into your Office 365 tenancy. So it's safe within that boundary. It's private, it's safe. The large language model isn't trained at all based on that. It has agent support and Copilot control system. The Copilot control system is the ability to manage Copilot and agents within your Office 365 tenancy. So you've got control now over what you can do in your organizations. So moving on, there's then the free version of Copilot. You should all have this in your tenancies already, but it's only there for staff. The difference is to the paid version. As you can see, it's built into Edge and the Microsoft 365 app. So it's not built into Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. You can, if you want, pin it into Outlook and Teams, but it doesn't have access to your mailbox data. It doesn't have access to your Teams meetings. But it's there because if you work in Teams or Outlook all day, the ability to access it within that interface is there for you. So it then is also grounded in the web. That means it gets its data from the internet, as you can see through Bing search. It still uses the same large language model, which is ChatGPT, and it's safe within your tenancy. It also supports agents, and it also supports the Copilot control system. So you have management capabilities over this as well. So two versions that may be of interest to you are schools and colleges. But the important bit, the free Copilot Chat is becoming available for students 13 and over from this summer. I know the paid version is available from the 1st of July because it's in the July price list. So if you want the paid version for your students, you can now get it. The free version for students will just turn up in your tenancies, and it's dependent on Microsoft's rollout across different geographies. So it will turn up this summer in your tenancy. It has protections and controls using the control system and being within Office 365 and agent support. So it's coming this summer, and in a couple of weeks, you can buy it for your students. There's a couple of things you need to do to get it to work in your tenancies. So the first thing is fairly straightforward and a one-off task. You need to set what segment you sit within education. So you set a tenancy identifier, and it's a one-off task, as I said. You download a PowerShell script, configure tenant edu type .ps1. So you download that PowerShell script, then you run it as an administrator in PowerShell, and you use attributes against that PowerShell script. One will set your tenancy identifier to be K-12 education, and then 2 will set it to HED. So when we're thinking about this tenancy identifier, K-12 obviously for schools, but also colleges as well, because you tend to have students under the age of 18. So you need to set this different identifier one-off task, so nice and easy. The next step, because ChatGPT has licensing rules in place that say anybody between the age of 13 and 18 have to have parental consent to use ChatGPT. And that's why Microsoft, well, that's one of the main reasons Microsoft haven't put student licensing into the tenancies yet. Okay, so what do you need to do here? First thing, you log into the Enter ID administrator as administrator, so that you've got the role that allows you to make modifications in there. And then you go to the individual user, go to parental controls, and there's 2 things you need to set in here. First of all, under the age group drop down, you need to set whether they're not adult if they're between the age of 13 and over. If they're below the age of 13, you can set them to be minor. And if you're in higher education, you can set that to adult. So first of all, you need to set the age group, as I've just said. Then you need to say if they've been given consent, and that's just a drop down again underneath age group, and you set that to granted to allow students to get access to Copilot. Now, this task isn't a one-off task. If you want to be precise, you'd want to do it off the date of birth. That's one of the questions that's come up there. And you can use things like school data sync then to trigger these off. Or you could use PowerShell scripts to do this. You can do it manually, but because you need to do this at least once a year for year 8 or year 9. You could set everybody in year 9, I reckon, in as not adult, but you might need to do some PowerShell, or you might have to use something like school data sync. But there's information on how to do it in the link in the slide here. So this task, you need to decide when you're running it. Are you doing it at the start of the year? So you might have to say that everybody from year 9 gets access to it. Or if you want to do it at year 8, you might have to bring people in as you want to. This is something you have to decide as a school, how you are going to handle this. Okay, so you have to set up an age group identifier as well and grant access to those users. So I mentioned earlier that there was agent support with Copilot and the free Copilot Chat. And in both of these applications, there is a link where you can just click on Create Agent, and you can build your own agents. It uses Gen AI and low-code development to get you up and running very quickly. So if we take an example, so let's say you want to create an agent that can assist your pupils with engineering homework. So what you can do, you can click Create to create the agent. You go in, you give it a nice little icon, you give it a name, and then you say where you get the knowledge from. So you can point it to somewhere like stem.org for you to get information on engineering related data for assistance with topics like things like, I don't know, energy or transportation. So to be honest, it doesn't have to be the STEM website. It can be any website you use as part of your curriculum. And it just then pinpoints you to the data you want to get. Instead of them using just ChatGPT to ask these questions, you can get them more focused on getting data that you know is relevant to the curriculum. So that would give you an agent for students to get help with particular topics. But you can take it a stage further. So let's say you had your coursework on SharePoint in your tenancy. You can point that knowledge to that SharePoint site for them to get answers. So it's even more then focused on what you're trying to teach. So the knowledge can go out to the web or into SharePoint. And then you can just publish these for students to use as part of the coursework. Of course, there's agents pre-built within the tenancy, built by Microsoft and built by other users that you can use as well. You can also build automation into them, and it integrates with Power Automate so that you can add tasks into it. Like you could, for instance, I'm guessing if a student creates a prompt within the agent, you could ask it to email that prompt to you so you can assess how students are using agents. So, it's up to you what you want to do. This is all up to your imagination. So that's Copilot Studio. And it's built into Copilot and Copilot Chat. Then there's AI Foundry. Now, AI Foundry is for development around AI services in Azure. So you could add things like speech, Copilot speech into your agents to talk with your students. You can use AI document intelligence to look at an image and give you information, OCR information, and that document intelligence can be used for things like reading in invoices or stuff like that. So you can use document intelligence and build them into your agents. That's AI Foundry, and AI Foundry is integrated into Copilot Studio. Copilot Studio tends to focus on the automation and the Gen AI side of things, but you can elaborate on that using AI services built into Azure. Okay. The reason I have done this is that I know people are interested in agents, but they might not necessarily know that there is a cost to agents. So some of the eagle eyes of you will have seen that I put an asterisk against free when on the Copilot Chat page. To be fair, Copilot Chat is free, and you can give it to your students and you can use it for free. But if you want to use agents, then you may get charged for using the agents. Okay, so if we look at this table here, a bit of a busy slide, but if we concentrate on the table, if you've got a paid version of Copilot, all of these actions within an agent are included in the cost of the Copilot from Microsoft 365. If you've got Copilot Chat, you can see you may use messages, and these messages then, you pay for these messages on what you use. So if I step back to the example of creating a homework helper for engineering, if your students are using Copilot Chat and you've created that agent to get add to STEM.org, that answer is grounded within the web. So that is included, so there's no cost for that agent. But if we look down to tenant graph grounding, the student in the free chat is going to SharePoint, which is paid functionality of the Copilot, the main M365 Copilot. Then students will be charged 10 messages for each question that is asked. The students themselves won't be charged. You can either pay for it as pay as you go within Azure, or you can buy Copilot Studio message packs. Now, these Copilot Studio message packs come in 25,000 messages per month, but they cover all agents and all users in your tenancy. So that is shared out between all the users. Okay, so just to be aware, if you're running agents, you could get charged based on the number of messages and where you're getting that information from. Now, agents cost less than a penny. If you've got a very busy agent, that costs could grow fairly quickly, I'm guessing. But I'm going to move on because I also mentioned that if you used AI services such as document intelligence and OCR, which are Azure services, Azure AI services, and you built them into your agents, then you are going to get charged based on messages again, even if you're M365 Copilot user. So you need to be aware that you can get charged for agent use. The other place these charges take place is if you're using data versus data. So if you've got Dynamics 365 CRM for sales or customer service, and you want to build agents that query the database, then even if you've got the paid Copilot license, you will be charged for accessing this data. Okay, Microsoft consider these tasks more advanced, and in reality, they will use more resource in Azure. So then you have to pay for these services, even with the paid Copilot. Okay, moving on from, well, I'm saying I'm moving from Copilot, but I'm looking at some of the latest news from their Build conference in Seattle last month. There's a lot of news around Copilot, mostly around development of agents. And you can get more information within the book of news in the link with all the updates from there. But some of the highlights I've taken out of there: Copilot tuning. What you're able to do moving forward is you can train your own large language models with your own SharePoint data by feeding files from SharePoint online into Copilot. You can train the large language model with your own data. At the moment, this is only available to people with large Copilot estates, and I think it's something like 5,000 and above. But in the past, what Microsoft have done is brought functionality down as they're more confident with this. There's going to be an agent toolkit for Visual Studio. Copilot Studio is going to allow you to bring your own models. So you can build agents based on the O1 reasoning agent, for instance. It's going to allow you to have multi-agents working together. And SQL Server 2025 is now in preview, so it will be out soon. This is just very much a highlight of some of the topics. If you want more information, go into the Book of News, and it's a great resource for what was announced there. Okay, I'm going to finish off with the Pugh hardware shop. So we've introduced a new resource, a hardware store that's got a whole range of Microsoft certified equipment, like surfaces around Microsoft Teams rooms with large screens, cameras, signing in kit, speakers, all of that equipment we can get on there, as well as a whole raft of other devices from other vendors and for all other uses. So if you want access to this, get in touch with your account managers and they'll be more than happy to talk to you about it and get you sorted in with getting it there. Okay, that's it. You'd be glad to hear. So, Tom, if you could start the poll off while I just close things off. We're planning our next webinar on the 16th of July. Be open to feedback if you think this is too late in the year and you would rather it in the week before. Just let us know in chat. But to finish off, if you're interested in Copilot for AI, and especially around the way the agents are costed, or you just want an AI advice on getting started, just get in touch with your account managers. They'll be happy to talk to you about all of this, or they'll drag me in to the conversations.